Hey everyone, welcome to the Open House podcast. I'm Carson Clement, and we just want to thank you for joining us. I'm here today with Kate Grunke, is the founder of Socialite, a marketing agency that works exclusively with home professionals. Her international brands include profit-driven marketing packages, a template shop, a marketing podcast, and select white glove services. Her podcast, The Kate Show, has been ranked by Listen Notes as one of the top 2% of all podcasts globally. And Kate was recently named as a 20 Under 40 award recipient by Vision Magazine. You can connect with Kate and the Socialite family of brands by going to katethesocialite.com. And when you go to katethesocialite.com and you look around, you'll see that they are really good at what they do. Everything looks amazing and really professional. So, Kate, welcome.
Thank you so much, Carson. It's an honor to be here and on the very first episode of your podcast, too. My goodness.
Well, we're really excited about it, and thank you for being our first guest. I kind of gave the code snippet, the headline bio about you, Kate, but I'd love to maybe just give us a little bit more background about where you're from and how you even got into this focusing on helping interior designers or people just in the home industry with their marketing. Kind of give us the background about how you got to where you're at now.
Sure. So first, I need to start by saying I am not an interior designer. I cannot pick out two colors that go together to save my life. I cannot create a floor plan. I can't do any of that. But because I'm so removed from the industry, that way I'm able to look at it and help people strategize because I can see the business side of it. That, however, was not always the case. I started my business in 2014, fresh out of college, freshly married, completely clueless about life in general. And the first 2 years in business were extremely hard for me. I was making probably about $500 a month, working my butt off, and I was extremely frustrated because I was getting clients who just wanted to shop around or they wanted to haggle my prices. It was just a really depressing situation. And thankfully, I've got a super supportive husband who is like, why don't you go invest in some courses? Why don't you figure this out? Because I know you can do it. And so I did. I took Marie Forleo's B-School course, and it was the best $2,000 that I have ever spent on my business because it helped me figure out my niche market. It helped me better understand marketing because up until that point, I hated marketing. And I hated it because I didn't understand it. I thought it was basically like the typical car salesman strategy where you are dishonest with people and you go based off of discounts and promotions and just all the things that didn't feel good to me. And I later learned that's not marketing at all. That's just called bad advertising. And Marie Forleo in her course taught me how to market from a place of authenticity and being able to set a price and not be ashamed of it. And that really helped to get rid of people who were trying to haggle with me. Fast forward now to 2021, with an international team and a marketing membership and a podcast and all the things that you read about in my bio earlier, that has all been a lot of freaking hard work, a lot of mistakes, and I have been by no means an overnight success. I come from the poorest county in Wisconsin. I come from like an Amish community. I was not Amish, but I've been told that I could have been at some point, just because like I didn't have a smartphone until I was in college. So now being in the digital space and helping people market their businesses, I can look them in the eye, whether it's through Zoom or the occasional person-to-person interaction, the joys of an online business, right? And I can say, I hear you when you tell me that you hate marketing because I've been there and I understand. But I was able to map out a way that creative service-based businesses, which an interior designer definitely falls in that category, I was able to map out a way for them to really simplify their marketing, but maximize the results while decreasing the amount of time, effort, and money they spend. And it sounds like some sort of miracle, but a lot of it is really just common sense. A lot of it is cutting through the bullcrap that we're told we need to do to market our businesses. And we're usually told to market our businesses a certain way because someone's trying to sell us something. They're trying to grow their business using us. So I just came in and tried to simplify everything because I'm like, if I'm going to market my own business, I have got to make this easier because this is killing me here. And that methodology has really worked. And now that brings us to where we are today.
When we were first introduced, when someone was telling me about you before we made the connection, I believe, I can't remember who exactly made our connection, but my first impression of how they described you is that like you do social media marketing for interior designers, or I think they used a little description like that. But as I kind of dug into the vault and katethesocialite.com, I really appreciated some of the things you talked about. And the way that I would describe what I read was that like your goal with these home professionals is to help them basically build a machine for revenue generation. And you said a few things on your website that I remember that like most people think right now, all that matters is the number of followers you have, or, these, I guess some people would describe them as vanity metrics. But I loved your description of marketing, because to me, marketing is about building a machine for acquiring, or building a machine or process for acquiring leads, selling them and getting them into your services or your business, and then providing them value and capturing and maintaining that value. Not just about these blind throwing money at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yes, absolutely. Because that's where a lot of new business owners start, and they waste a lot of time and money, like myself included, and that's why I am so passionate about helping people avoid these pitfalls. Yeah,
totally. And I think we have a lot of similar DNA, because I personally do not love sales. Like I can't picture myself doing sales. I get uncomfortable when I have to do sales. But I love marketing because it's just the idea of building this like efficient, repeatable process that can be scaled and drive revenue and value is exciting to me. And so it's more of kind of the science or the process part of it that is fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you coming as like a software engineer in a way, like your brain works well in that direction. And for a lot of people, that's still a struggle. So I'll also then describe marketing as a relationship. And relationships are hard work. But if you build them correctly from the start, then they get easier.
I think that's awesome. And I think the relationship has to be, in these marketing relationships, it has to be more mutual. Like the goal of creating a marketing relationship with someone should be that like I'm providing you value in the form of services or whatever it is that I do, and you're providing me value in the form of currency, usually of money. And a lot of kind of the preconceived notions that we talked about that made us not like marketing from the beginning makes it seem really one-sided, just like sell, like basically what are tricks and tips to like convince people to, or like trick people into doing something. But I like the way that you described it as a relationship. Talk to me about why you chose to go into like the niche that you did, because it's obvious that there's obviously other people that do similar things to you, but they are not broad. They're more broadly focused on just basically anybody that needs marketing help. What made you decide to focus specifically on the home industry and home professionals?
When I took that really expensive, at the time, really expensive online course that helped me define my niche, I had to go through my current client roster and figure out, who do I like working with the most? Because why build a business if you don't like it? This is something that we live and breathe 7 days a week, even if we only technically work 5. And I realized, yes, exactly. And that is why I looked at like the remodeling companies and the interior designers, and I was like, these companies are really fun. Not only do they have pretty pictures, and I love looking at pretty pictures all day, but they are like notoriously hard working people, and they are directly impacting their clients' lives in such a big way. And I want to be part of that. So it was really just a matter of personal preference, because what I had learned is once you pick your niche and you stay true to it, then you can create products and services and packages, and for me, even a podcast that is so specific to just them. You can generate a lot of organic PR for yourself that way.
No, that's really smart. And there's so many, like some of the overarching principles apply to maybe a home professional as to other professional services, but there are so many nuances. And anyways, I think it's just really smart to focus on them, and they know that you are really focused specifically on helping them be successful, not just kind of running them through a program. That's just kind of vanilla. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually a huge selling point. And a lot of people come to us saying, I interviewed other companies, but you're the only one who specializes, and I want that specialty.
That's awesome. Yeah. Tell me about what would you say? So pretend, I guess I'm an interior designer or a home professional. What are the things that, these home professionals, these interior designers, like as you kind of came into this industry to help provide these services, like what did you see that maybe are some really common mistakes or like misconceptions that these interior designers have about marketing and growing their business? And then how would you describe how you're helping them overcome that? Does that make sense?
It does, yes. And it's a good but very loaded question, so I'll do my best to be brief. The big issues that most, not all, but most interior designers have is that they think marketing should be expensive. They think marketing should take a lot of time, but they also think marketing should provide instant results. And none of those things are true. If anyone is promising you instant results, you are the result. They just want your money. And the other big misconception that designers have is that their social following matters. Now, in some situations it does. If you're trying to sell product, like straight retail product at a lower price point that fits the Instagram demographic, for example, because Instagram has a user base that about 70% of them make around $70,000 a year, which is a nice income. But for a lot of designers who are looking to do projects that start at $250,000, those people are typically not the type of customers they're looking for. And therefore, it doesn't matter what they post on social media. It doesn't matter how many followers they have on social media. They're not going to get clients from social media. But there are other ways that they can market their business, and there are other things they should certainly be focusing on. So that's a really big misconception that we try to help people overcome, because otherwise they keep shelling out money in the form of boosted posts or social media ads or even Google ads. Like, why isn't this working? I'm so frustrated. But often they will run those ads without having any sort of sales funnel in place, which means even if the ad was successful, they have no next stepping stone for that lead. Like you said, there's no machine ready to capture them. So we help people create complete sales funnels. They're simple, and we always emphasize this is going to be simple. Nobody has time for it to be complex when it just doesn't need to be. And we help them reframe their perspective around social media so that they stop stressing, because social media is such a huge stressing point for so many designers. And we instead focus on other things that are more directly income producing, such as email marketing. And that is when we start seeing the success stories. Like, for example, one of the designers we work with in California said, I just landed a $300,000 project because of an email newsletter. Like, what is this? And email marketing is not dead. It's just highly underused and underrated. So those are the problems I see. That's how we fix it. And I do get so fired up about this because I want every business to be successful, because I know what it feels like to not have a successful business.
Yeah, definitely. I really appreciated you in the beginning talking about how these first couple of years starting your business were so hard. And like, I love the concept of a flywheel, where getting a flywheel going takes a ton of effort and it takes time. But once it gets going, it's just, I don't know, when you can kind of feel that the flywheel is like self-propelling and spinning itself, and has enough momentum to keep itself going, that's just like the most exciting time as a business owner. And so basically, it's fun because you've experienced that yourself, and now you get to, in your line of business, you get to like take people through that process. That's awesome. And another thing that I appreciated about what you said was, it sounds like, I just think so many people underestimate that the amount of business that they can do or generate from having like a small community of hundreds of followers or maybe a few thousand followers. Like, you can do so much business if that is like a really authentic, community that you have a relationship with and that you're really trying to provide value. And so it sounds like that's your approach with these home professionals, is that helping them, put together this community, make a relationship on a one-to-one basis, and maybe land a $300,000 job through a newsletter because that person had provided value to them for so long in the form of content or helpful things that, they built that trust and built that community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it all goes back to that relationship that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, totally. Well, I just wanted to ask a couple more questions before we jump off. One is, I think it's been obvious, like with retail or in-person businesses over the last 18 months or coming up on 2 years, how COVID has affected those. But I think that the home professional industry and even the home goods and furniture industry was kind of an anomaly compared to a lot of other industries that were affected by COVID-19. For example, I read an article the other day about how Williams-Sonoma was one of the best performing stocks in, over the last, 12 to 18 months compared to a lot of other stocks that were affected by COVID, which is interesting. Just as we've seen people spend more time at home, I feel like this industry has kind of been an anomaly to what has happened as a result of COVID. How would you say, has COVID-19 affected your business? Is business going well? Has it been a challenge? Tell us kind of about what the last, 18 months have been like.
Yeah. So when the pandemic hit and the shutdown started happening, I was like getting a little nervous, like, okay, how is my audience going to respond to this? And then like about 2 weeks went by and we just got slammed. Like everyone's like, I need marketing because now I have time to work on it. And I've been putting off getting a new website, and now I have time, and I'm just going to make the most of this time I have to stay at home. So it has been crazy. I had to, expand my team in certain ways. Everyone increased their hours. We'll just put it that way. But it's been good. It's been exciting. Now, the sad part is I got to, had to witness a few businesses go under. And some people were just like, well, I'm going to retire in a year anyway. I might as well just take an early retirement. And I'm like, well, all right, well, you do you. But then there were other businesses that it was a really sad time in those ways. But also the businesses that did make it, and a majority of them did in the home industry, they're booked out over a year. And it's insane. I mean, the housing market, even where I am in the Midwest, has just been crazy. Every house gets into a bidding war, and then whoever buys it wants to remodel it. So there is just so much work to be had. And a lot of designers that we work with are trying to grow their internal teams. So it's a very good time to be in the home industry. And that's the silver lining of what we all have been through.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting. Thanks for sharing that. I just think the home is just becoming more and more important. I've always believed that the home is the most important place on earth, but I think that um, just as a result of the last 18 months, I think some of these changes that have happened to us socially are going to stick. And I think that like the importance of the home and our desire for the home to be a place where we feel comfortable and that we want to be, is only going to, I think it's only going to keep getting that way. And it's one of the social adjustments from the last 18 months that I think will stick. And so, one last question that I wanted to ask about, and it's kind of related to this, but talk to me about, with you and your employees, what's the work situation like? Do you guys have an office? Are you working from home? I know it sounded like you said you have some international employees. Like so obviously there's a remote aspect. Anyways, what's your current work situation like?
Yeah, so we are entirely remote. I do have a team member who lives like 10 minutes away from me, but even then, we don't actually work in the same location because she's a mom, I'm a mom. I send my daughter to daycare part-time. She does not. She's crazy, but she gets it all done. And then I have my team is primarily all women. Most of them are mothers. And that was intentional on my part because there are a lot of women who want to be there for their kids, but they also want to have a career. And I really wanted to do something to make it possible for them. So we've got people in Connecticut, Florida, Switzerland, the Philippines, and we all just work on our own schedules. And I tell them, as long as all the deadlines are met, I don't care when you work. And they're amazing. Like, I have the best team and I couldn't do it without them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I know that there's quite a few companies that are starting to go back to in-office work, but our plan at Open House is that we plan to remain remote first, but there's just so many perks, and just the lifestyle change is, I don't know, I just can't picture myself going back to not working from home, avoiding the commute, like right now, first of all, our schedule kind of is malleable. It changes, but me and my wife, we both work from home. We wake up early. We get, several hours of work done from, 7 in the morning to maybe 11 in the morning. And then we take a break. We go get lunch, we go to the gym, and then we come back and we get back at it. And I just think that flexibility and the autonomy over your own schedule and the ability to be at home, and I don't know, it's pretty cool. And it's one of those social changes that I talked about that I'm excited about. My last question is, with that home office that you're working at, what are some things that you do to, like, because I think working from home is kind of a double-edged sword because people, I do find at the beginning, at least, my productivity was definitely lower when I wasn't going to like a dedicated office space. But over time, I figured out, how to make that dedicated space in my home. What are some things that you do to like keep productivity at home and dedicate, an office space or a place for you to work at home?
Yeah, I've been working from home for 7 years now. So anytime I go to a coffee shop and I try to get work done, I can't. Like, if there are other people around, I can't. And my husband occasionally works from home and we share an office and it just doesn't work. Like, if he's here, because then he's just like, hey, what about this? Hey, what about that? And I'm like, don't talk to me. So, it's marriage, right? But it's like, it's all good. I am a loner, so I am most productive when I'm alone, when I'm either in my office or I'll take my laptop outside because we live in kind of a rural subdivision. So it's nice. I like it. I would not be a productive office worker because I would be very distracted by everyone and probably grumpy because I couldn't get my stuff done. So I'm liking all this. Like, even with all the societal changes through COVID, I have to say most of it did not affect us at all.
That's interesting. Yeah. I'm the same way. I struggle to be interrupted, throughout the day. I'm definitely more of a kind of stay in my lane, stay heads down and focus on the tasks that I have, and then, come up for air every once in a while and socialize rather than I don't thrive off kind of the being interrupted or anyway. So I can definitely relate. Well, Kate, before we go, you said we can go to the katethesocialite.com to get in touch with you guys, but is there any other ways that you'd like us to reach out to you? You'd like people to keep in touch?
The best way would be to go to katethesocialite.com. People could also go to Socialite Vault as in a bank vault.com. That's where we have our online store, our membership. You don't have to be a member to purchase from the store. And there's just a lot of resources out there. And also, if you guys want, you can check out my podcast, The Kate Show. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Play.
Awesome. And we'll link that podcast and all the domains we just talked about. But Kate, seriously appreciate it so much. I'll be hopping on your podcast in the next couple of weeks, and I'm sure we'll be talking more and more through time. So we appreciate you coming on. And anyways, thanks.
Thank you. This was a pleasure.